Welcome to Headline Hub Updates. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. The South China Sea is once again on a knife's edge. On October 8, 2025, Beijing announced a national-level nature reserve at Scarborough Shoal. China called it an environmental initiative and a noble effort to protect a fragile marine ecosystem, but for the Philippines this was a declaration, not conservation. Manila's response was swift and furious. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s administration denounced the plan as a creeping invasion and a deceptive pretext for permanent occupation. The air in Manila crackled with déjà vu and dread. The Philippine government saw the nature reserve for what it was, a classic tactic from China's playbook, a civilian project as a Trojan horse for military expansion. Scarborough Shoal, or Bajo de Masinloc, is a rich fishing ground and a critical strategic outpost. Control of the shoal could give China dominance over the entire South China Sea. The announcement followed months of escalating tensions, Chinese Coast Guard vessels swarming the shoal, blocking Philippine supply missions, and harassing fishermen. The nature reserve proposal was the culmination of this pressure campaign, a clear signal that Beijing was moving from de facto control to de jure annexation. The Philippines, backed by a revitalized alliance with the United States, was now forced into a corner. This showdown is more than a territorial dispute. It is a test of wills. It pits China's raw power against the Philippines' legal rights and international partnerships. The world is watching. The fate of Scarborough Shoal could determine the future of maritime freedom in the Indo-Pacific. Will international law prevail, or will might make right in the world's most critical waterway? The stakes could not be higher. The Philippines has drawn its line in the shifting sands of the South China Sea. The question is whether China will dare to cross it. The next move could change the region forever. To understand Manila's fear, look back to 1995, Mischief Reef. China arrived claiming to build harmless shelters for fishermen. The Philippine government protested but took little action, hoping for diplomacy. It was a fatal miscalculation. The shacks became concrete buildings. Then, helipads, radar, and fortified seawalls. The fishermen's shelters metastasized into a fortress. This became China's signature, the salami-slicing strategy. First, a civilian presence. Then, Coast Guard protection. Finally, military muscle. By the time the world noticed, Mischief Reef was a Chinese military base. Runways, harbors, advanced radar. What was once a fishing ground is now a dagger pointed at the Philippines. The ghost of Mischief Reef haunts every discussion about Scarborough Shoal. Today's Philippine leaders have studied the blueprint. They know a nature reserve is not the final step, but the first. Civilian projects provide pretext for permanent infrastructure, then Coast Guard, then military. The lesson: turning a blind eye is a recipe for disaster. This time, the Philippines is determined not to repeat the mistake. The stakes are clear, and so is the playbook. In 2013, the Philippines turned to the law, launching an arbitration case against China under UNCLOS. The case challenged China's sweeping 9-line claim. In July 2016, the tribunal at The Hague delivered a stunning victory for the Philippines. The ruling declared China's 9-line invalid and affirmed Scarborough Shoal as a traditional fishing ground for all. It found China had violated the Philippines' sovereign rights. But China rejected the ruling, calling it waste paper, barterburrais, and gens, bijuri, broniker broader bides. Doubled down on its activities. The ruling had no enforcement mechanism. On the water, it was a paper shield against China's steel hulls. The Duterte administration downplayed the victory for promised Chinese investments that never fully materialized. China consolidated its gains, facing little united diplomatic pushback. The ruling remains a cornerstone of Philippine claims, but its inability to change China's behavior is a source of deep frustration. International law is only as strong as the willingness of powerful nations to respect it. For the Philippines, the award is both a source of pride and a lesson in the limits of the law. The struggle continues, on paper and at sea. The nature reserve proposal at Scarborough Shoal is a chilling echo of Mischief Reef. Like before, a civilian project provides a non-military justification for a permanent presence. China can begin construction under the guise of environmental protection. The tactic is ambiguous, designed to confuse and divide the international community. Manila immediately recognized the strategy. First, Chinese marine scientists and environmental vessels arrive. Then, construction crews and equipment. Small research structures appear, then expand and fortify. The nature reserve morphs into a forward operating base. Scarborough's location would complete China's strategic triangle, giving Beijing control over the northern South China Sea. It would put Chinese jets and missiles within striking distance of Manila and Subic Bay, and threaten a vital shipping lane. For the Philippines, this is an existential threat, a permanent military outpost on its doorstep. Manila's reaction is forceful. The time to act is now, before the first concrete appears. By drawing a red line at the nature reserve, the Philippines is trying to stop the blueprint from being executed. They will not allow history to repeat itself at Scarborough Shoal. The standoff is now a dangerous game of cat and mouse. China has established a near-permanent blockade with Coast Guard cutters and maritime militia, creating a floating wall. They shadow, block, and intimidate any Philippine vessel approaching the shoal. Chinese patrols have surged. Encounters are almost daily. The pressure is relentless, designed to wear down the Philippines. The conflict has expanded into the sky. Philippine aircraft are now challenged by Chinese planes. Close encounters between aircraft add a terrifying new dimension. A mid-air collision could ignite a wider conflict in seconds. China's overwhelming presence dares the Philippines to challenge its control. Every patrol is a test of nerve. The Philippines refuses to be intimidated, sending ships and planes to uphold its rights. These patrols are acts of defiance, but come at great risk. The men and women on the front lines face a larger, better-equipped adversary in a high-stakes standoff. The Scarborough Shoal situation is now a hair-trigger standoff. Dozens of ships and aircraft operate in a small, contested area. One mistake could spark conflict. The U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty means a skirmish could draw on the United States. The fate of a small atoll could become the flashpoint for a conflict between nuclear-armed superpowers. There are no reliable mechanisms for de-escalation. Both sides are locked in a cycle of action and reaction. Communication is poor, trust non-existent. Each side believes it is defending a fundamental principle. The world watches, knowing a local incident could spiral into a regional crisis. The peace of the Indo-Pacific hangs in the balance. The Philippines, under President Marcos Jr., has abandoned accommodation for assertiveness. Manila is strengthening alliances, especially with the United States, expanding military cooperation and base access. This signals to Beijing that Manila is not alone. The second strategy: assertive transparency. The Philippine Coast Guard documents and publicizes China's aggressive actions, exposing them to global scrutiny. By winning the information war, the Philippines hopes to build international pressure on Beijing. This is a calculated gamble. Standing up risks escalation, but inaction risks losing Scarborough Shoal. The rejection of the nature reserve is a clear red line. Manila is betting that by standing firm, backed by allies and public opinion, it can force China to reconsider. The stakes: sovereignty, security, and the future of the South China Sea. Scarborough Shoal is the stage for a fundamental struggle: international law versus raw power. The Philippines wields the 2016 arbitral award and the legitimacy of global maritime law. China wields the world's largest navy and a historical claim. Every Philippine patrol champions the cause of law. Every Chinese blockade asserts the primacy of force. The outcome will shape the global order. If China succeeds, it will be a blow to the rules-based system. The struggle over this remote atoll is a test case for the world. Do the rules matter, or does only power count? Scarborough Shoal is more than rocks and reefs. It's a symbol of Philippine sovereignty. Losing it would be a deep wound to the national psyche and a strategic setback. The stakes extend far beyond the Philippines. The South China Sea is a vital artery for global trade. Conflict here could disrupt supply chains worldwide. A successful Chinese takeover would embolden Beijing elsewhere, threatening regional peace. The struggle is a test of international solidarity and the freedom of the seas. If the world turns away, it sets a dangerous precedent. The lesson of Mischief Reef is clear. Inaction has a cost. Today, the world has a chance to show it has learned. The future of this atoll will send a powerful message about the world we live in. Will it be governed by law and respect, or by force and intimidation? The world is watching, and must not look away.